welcome in. Looks like YouTube's working again. It didn't work last night, so you missed a stream last night. It wasn't a very big one anyway. Just testing out Mega Drive Clean Power that I've made, but yeah, we had some major issues getting it streaming last night. The TikTok wouldn't stream, the Facebook was glitching, so I don't know whether they've had internet or power issues, but all seems good this morning. So one chip, of course it is. We need a 2-chip. There we go, there's a 2-chip. Yep, cool. Everything looks like it's streaming well. We are going to, I'm just going to do a quick FRAM mod on this Pokemon we did on stream the other day. Finish that up. And then we will build a few Game Gears. I've got to build a few Game Gears up as well. But I don't need that. Got everything I've got sticky again. I think one day I was using Flux and managed to get sticky over everything. Let me just see if this works out of curiosity. I doubt it will because it's in the pile of non-working stuff, but still worth a try. Yeah, fully working. Nice. So, I don't know whether to keep this one, to be honest, because it's rare you get a fully working Game Gear. Literally working with screen and everything. OG screen. I'm going to keep that one because yeah, we don't want to. Sounds a bit dodgy, but I can fix all that. So I'm going to keep that as an original board. We don't want to waste that on a VPCB because it's a very good condition board if we look at it. Zoom out a bit. I mean, it's not. I say very good for a Game Gear. This is very good. Obviously, I'll redo a recap. This is just one we brought in for stock, but overall condition of that board is pretty good. So I'm gonna keep that one on one side. Grab the third one. But I'll tell you what, before we do that, let's just jump onto this Pokemon game first. So, I don't know whether you saw it in the last stream we did. I think it was the last one. No, one before last. Yesterday morning, I think it was. We've got a Pokemon Blue game. We've got a few. I was just showing people how to fix games, I guess, and just grabbed one of the non-working ones I've had for a while. And the issue you get, this is the working one that we figured out and proved why the other one wasn't working. So, if we start the game, you can see we get the Pokemon sprites here. What we figured out was this one had an FRAM mod, so on here, and it's the wrong chip for a start, so it's the wrong FRAM. But what we did was remove the FRAM from this working one and tested it again, and what we found is exactly the same as this one. If you just leave the what would normally be the SRAM to save your game saves, so the chip that actually saves your game saves, if you remove that, you got the exact same symptoms as I was seeing on this faulty game, which you'll see in a minute. So you get this. It corrupts sprites, strangely. It's also not an English Pokemon, so this is, has it got a, yeah, apparently this has got a European thing. So this is, somebody's obviously opened this up, changed the internal boards, so this isn't an English board, and then also tried to do an FRAM mod and done the wrong one. So we're at least going to get this up and running, and then we'll see if the language changes. I don't think it will. But let me just show you how to do an FRAM mod. It's very easy on the Pokemon Blues. So, well, any game on a Game Boy with this chip. So specifically this MBC5, the bank controller. All you need to do on this is pull up the chip enable pin here and use the correct FRAM chip. So if you do those two things, this is literally a 2-minute job. So the chip that was on, you can have that Spanish version. If this comes up and running, I'll tell you how to buy it, basically. I can send it you, or just send me an email. I just have to cover postage and I'll get it sent off to you. So this was being using an FM28. That's completely wrong. What we want is the FM18W08. This is used in the FRAM mod for the Mega CD, the Sega Saturn. It's a pretty universal FRAM mod, it works well. So all we need to do is solder this down. This is the nice simple step. Bit of flux, and I'm trying to put some cloth underneath while I work now, just to catch some of the flux, so that my silicon mats don't get ruined as quickly as they do. Get the fan on, and then I think it's this way up. Yeah, I think it goes that way. So solder this one on. We'll see how heat retardant this fabric cloth is underneath. This will probably burn fairly quickly, but we'll see. And then the battery has already been replaced in this, so it's a fresh battery, but you won't need the battery, so we can take that out. Obviously FRAM doesn't use the battery. Or saying that, the battery is actually used for the real-time. Oh no, that's on there. I'm going to say on GBAs the battery is used for the real-time clock, so it would be needed on GBAs, but this is the GBO. So yeah, the battery won't be needed. So that looks like it's soldered, but we haven't got molten pins on this side yet. Now we do. And then while it's warm, I'm just going to run a little bead of solder, so it'll flux around to help finish that flow off nice. Morning, Chris, welcome in. What time do I finish? I've worked for myself, so I kind of start and stop whenever I like. No set times. I typically start work nice and early. I'll go for a coffee break when everybody else wakes up, so I'll normally start. I've been working since about I think 5:30 this morning, so not too early. And then I'll probably go for a coffee about 10ish, have an hour off work, and then carry on for the rest of the day. Sometimes finish at 4 or 5 o'clock. Other times I'll finish at 4 or 5, have some food, and just do another few hours just to wrap up the day. I just find sitting like doing casual stuff for too many hours at night, I get a bit stir crazy. So that's all soldered on good. And now all we need to do on this, because the way these chips work, the FRAM mods, we have a chip enable pin, which is pin 20 on this, which 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. So the wire going out here, the first wire you see, this won't be, this will be toggling basically because of this memory bank controller. So this will screw up this chip. We need to permanently keep this tied high. Otherwise it's not going to pull high. So all we need to do on this is chuck on a 10k resistor. We'll get a 0603 if I can find one. Right at the bottom, because I pretty much never use the 0603s. You can just use a big axial resistor, you don't need to use SMDs, I just like the surface mount stuff. Size isn't important again, 4.7k, 10k, 20k, probably 47k would even work. It's just a pull-up resistor. So I'm going to go with a, what should we go with? Something I've got lots of. Go with an 11k because nobody uses them. That's no problem if you can't watch much. These should be on, because YouTube's streaming, you can watch them permanently. They'll be on forever, basically. So I'm pretty sure YouTube's live videos just stay up like normal videos, so you can watch this back whenever. It's just you'll miss the live side of it. So pin 20 is this pin here. And do you guys see, I think I mentioned it yesterday, I noticed the stream I'd got set to 30 frames a second by mistake, so this is now 60. And I see it on screen as 60, but I didn't realise it was streaming at 30, so you should have a bit smoother movement now. for those watching. And I'm tempted to try the 4K streaming, because all the setup's 4K and these cameras would be even higher quality in 4K. But saying that, all the HDMI setup isn't 4K actually, and no, I know why I don't do it. This PC can't handle the 3 cameras on 4K. I remember now. I tried that before for recording. No, it was actually for streaming, and you'd get dropped frames in 4K. So maybe I'll update in future, but it'll be quite a lot of equipment I'd have to update, to be honest. The PC is already pretty powerful, and I remember when I had, like, 3 cameras going at 4K. It's the PCI bandwidth of the PC that can't keep up. You need a pretty crazy motherboard to be able to. It's not the components, it's the actual motherboard PCI lanes, because you need a lane just like your graphics card, like a 16 times max speed lane, in order to stream like 3 lots of 4K footage. And to find a motherboard with the PCI lanes like a graphics card as well as the graphics card lane is pretty hard. They're actually not that common. They're more like server grade motherboards. That's why I didn't do the 4K, I can remember. And then I've got all the equipment to do 4K streaming through my Blackmagic ATEM stuff, but that's a lot more messy and complicated to turn on and set up, whereas this I can just open OBS. It's going to be a bit close to that view, isn't it? On this I can just open OBS nice and easy, and we're done. So yeah, scrap the 4K idea for the minute. This then needs to go from here. So this is the not chip enable pin. We need to tie this to VCC up here, or this cap. It doesn't really matter where we go. We'll just go to the cap because it's a little bit easier for some people. Although I suppose if you're doing it this way, you've got to be good at soldering anyway, because I've used SMD caps and quite a tight position to fit it in. That's that. We'll take off the battery while we're here as well. We don't need this battery. In fact, I'll save this battery for the other one because I think it's fully charged, and the other Pokemon Blue I have doesn't have a battery on. So let's chuck the battery on this other one a minute. So it's on there. I've noticed the sound again isn't coming through for. I tested literally right before jumping on the stream that the sound works for like notifications. I've literally sent a test notification and it popped up, and now it's not popping up on the sound again. I'll just have to keep an eye out on the stream anyway. What does doing this do? Oh, hang on, this has got a battery on. Oh no, I've just put the battery on. Jeez, I'm getting confused already. Looked up at chat, looked down and went, oh, there's a battery on. It's the one I've just put on. So doing this mod here, this is the game. So this is the actual Pokemon game. This is the thing that saves your game save. So this is when you have a battery. So like on the conventional one, if you look at the unmodded one, this has got a battery on. So basically, Pokemon Blue game we've got at the minute. In fact, is that because... Ah, yeah, so you go. So this is the cover to the Spanish version. So the covers got mixed up, and here's the cover to the European version. So Pokemon Blue, this is your game. So this is the actual thing that is Pokemon Blue. This is a memory bank controller. So this is the thing that reads different sections of this ROM and sends it out to the Game Boy. This is a SRAM mod. So this saves your game save, but it's held up by this battery. So if this battery comes off, you've lost your game save. Or if this battery drains, you lose your game save. So we offer a service where people send in the games, we back up the game save, swap the battery, and then write the save back on. Alternatively, what I can do is add an option for this maybe, and you can remove the battery, replace it with what's called an FRAM mod, and this prevents your battery from being needed, so your game save isn't reliant on a battery. You can literally take this on and off the board, you can have no battery, and you're not going to lose your game save, basically. Let me just see if, and I think, let me just solder this wire on before I forget to do that, because it looks like it's in position, and then I might forget that. And I'm just going to try and get this, have a look at what's going on with this audio, because it should be working. Like it didn't work yesterday. Something's changed on my audio setup to make it not work. Right, so that's going to default. That's the sound coming out is here. So that's fine there. I'm wondering whether it's because I'm capturing. I think it's because I'm capturing system, but then I'm saying to output it on there. I don't know if anybody can trigger. Actually, I think I can trigger a fake notification. 1 second. Let me just see if I send a notification to the stream. Will it make a sound? But the problem is, I think that where I got confused is I think when I was testing the alert, it's the browser that was making the noise. So let me ping up a fake member. Mute that. Yeah, so it's my... when I was testing it, let's do it again. Yeah, so it's not outputting sound. This is bizarre. Bear with me 2 seconds. Alert box is visible and enabled. Alert box there. Let me send another one. Yeah, so that is strange. So you guys, I think you guys are possibly hearing that alert box, and I'm not. I think that's what's going on. So are you guys hearing a ping when that's happening on stream, like other than that one time? Inverted the battery poles. Yes, I have. I'll flip that around. Good catch. Yeah, I think the alerts are going to your stream and not my monitor. So you guys hear those notifications, I think. But just let me know if anyone heard those when I was sending those member test alerts. Were you guys hearing a noise for that or not? No, you didn't hear a noise. So somebody's put yes, unless that was for something else. Or was that answering to browser recording, not live? Oh yeah, Daytel and Stone. Yeah, I know them well in terms of I used to buy their stuff as a kid, and I've still got some stuff. Yeah, so yeah, you guys are hearing the alerts then. So if I uncheck that, so Streamlabs isn't captured and OBS isn't captured. I think that's what it does. I was messing with some other settings. So now let's see if I hear it. Nope, still capturing to the stream. Right, so that is strange because yeah, no, that's strange. There's literally, I don't know why there's a... I'll do that off stream anyway. It's not that important, but it's annoying because I had it all working, and then obviously sound settings changed. So let's ignore the sound for now, and let's crack on. Otherwise, I'll be trying to figure that out, and I can do that later. It should literally be... It's like shows up in the sound of the stream, the mixer, but it's not coming out. I want it coming out the actual... you know, my monitor, not your stream. There we go, monitor, there we go, monitor only, mute output. So I think you guys might hear double though if I do this, because if I've got monitor and output, mind you, it depends what the monitor's set to. Right, I think I figured it out 1 second. Yeah, monitor's headphones, so it's ignored, and output only. But then it doesn't explain why you guys are hearing the output, because that was set to monitor only. You guys shouldn't have heard that. So let's try once more, and then I will crack on with the stream. So I've enabled the alert sound coming out of my PC. Thanks, glad you're liking the work. Right, this is going to be a member ping. There we go. Right, I can hear that. Now, did you guys hear just one diddling, or like as in, I can't really explain the noise, but is there like an echo? Did you hear one noise after another like a few seconds later, or was it just one notification sound? And if so, perfect. I can re-enable all these sounds so that all, yeah, they've all, I don't know why, they've all been set to monitor only. I don't know, Streamlabs has just literally glitched and sent all them through to monitor only. That's better, I can hear everything going on now. So that's why I've been missing quite a few things. There was an echo sound. Okay, I'll leave them all on and let's see what we think, if you guys think there's echoes or not, because they're a kind of, the chime is a kind of echo in a way. It like is a double chime as the sound, but I'll listen back to the stream when I'm done and I'll let you know if there's actually an echo. I'll let you know how it sounds, and that means I can now get the HDMI set up as well. Right, so they're all on. I should hear all sounds now, presumably, if everything's right. Right, and let me do some work and I'll jump back on the comments in a second because we haven't done anything. Yeah, so this is the working one. This now has the FRAM mod on, so this should work without, well, first that glitch should have gone now. So that glitch we had where it was faulty was, check we've got the right backs and things. This one goes on here. The Espanol goes here. And now let's see if the graphics glitches are gone. And then if they are, we'll have to play a bit of Pokemon and I can answer the questions while we're playing Pokemon then. Wonder if you plan on having a clean juice for the DMG core as well. We already have clean juice for all of those, but oh no, still bad. Okay, let's see if playing a new game. This might have two issues, not just one, because I know we swapped the thing, yeah, so maybe the FRAM mod isn't working on this one. Pretty sure I did that right, and it should work. Oh, notifications too loud. I don't know whether they're coming through the mic or, like, I can't hear notifications still again. Let me just... what I can do is, if I mute my mic and send a notification, let me know if you hear this one, that's how we prove it. So I'm going to mute the mic, send a notification through there, you shouldn't hear anything. Right, so I muted the mic, so you wouldn't have heard anything that I heard. Did you guys still hear that notification? If you did, then we're getting double notification sounds still, and I'll have to figure that out again. Yeah, so we're getting two notifications, which kind of sucks. So why is that? Alert box. I had this all working fine. So monitor and output. Was it that? Right, I think I need to recapture Streamlabs. Maybe, I don't know. Let's try that. See if I can still hear. We've got a lot of fake notifications going on, so I can still hear that. Let me mute the mic again. So you guys would have heard that one. I'm just going to mute the mic, and this next one you shouldn't hear. Right, so did you hear that second beep then, or just the one? Still heard it. Okay. I'll just mute. I'm going to mute the notifications for now, then I'll have to... I don't know how I'm going to figure this out. Or, let me put it back to monitor only. One more test. Right, I think that should have got it. So I think you shouldn't have heard that notification, but I heard it. In which case, it was already set to monitor only. And I don't know why it needed to be the other one. Cool. So it was set up right in Streamlabs. I just don't know why it wasn't originally making sound. It's strange. So So change all these back to monitor only. TikTok chat monitor only. Chat monitor only. Likes monitor only. And then I presume I'll still hear the noises. I don't know what's changed though, because we're effectively back to... That's basically back to where we were. So literally now nothing's changed than when we were at the start of the stream. That's bizarre. So literally all I've done is reverted all the settings back to where we were. And now I do one last test, and that's it for now for testing. I can still hear that, and I presume you guys hear the one chime. And even if you don't, that's what we're rolling with for now. So yeah, let's see if this at least saves so we know if the FRAM's working and it's some other issue. And then we'll move on to the Game Gears, I think. Yeah, we get quite a lot of... Sorry, Joe, it's a bit of a delayed reply on the chat. So we get a lot of games in for repairs. We had... they're all gone now again. From yesterday, we had about 7 on the desk. It's mainly Pokemons we get for like the battery swaps. They're definitely the main thing. So let's just go out here, save. Oh, jeez. What's save in Spanish? There we go. So now if we turn off and on, ignoring the corruption on... oh, got low batteries as well to top it off. Ignoring the corruption on screen, let's see if the save even worked. And then if not, then we know the FRAM's still bad. And I'll just ignore the FRAM for now, chuck on a normal RAM. I'll then modify this another time. I just wanted to quickly chuck that on. Yeah, so FRAM's still not working. So I'll do that another time. I just wanted to quickly try that. There must be some more... something else to do, or I've done something wrong there. But if I remember rightly, it's the FM18W08, pin 20, so 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, pulled up to VCC, which is up there. I didn't think you needed to do anything else. Maybe we need to lift that pin. I can't remember, see, I've only done it once or twice. It's not something we offer at the minute, so it's not really something I did. Let's just lift the pin up. It might be that you need to lift the pin so the chip's just always enabled. I genuinely can't remember. So that's out of the way. Let's get under this leg. And I've got actually the perfect tool for this. I've got a bent tweezer for this exact reason. It's snapped off. Another bent tweezer. There we go. So got a little bent tweezer tip I can get under. The follows up there aren't making a noise. But I don't know whether they do anyway. They might be disabled in the Tickfinity to not make a noise. And we'll see when more chat comes through if I hear it. That's the pin lifted. Solder this back on. And if this doesn't work, then I'll figure out how to do it properly, because like I say, I'm just going off memory here. I haven't really looked into doing it. I've gone off what I thought I remembered was right, and obviously I don't think that is right for the FRAM. No, so obviously the FRAM's the wrong chip, or we're doing something wrong there. So let's ignore that for now. I'll figure out how you do it, do a bit of research on it, see what others have done, and we'll get that sorted. It does work. You can do FRAM, and I've done it before, but I just can't remember what you do. Or that game could still be corrupt, but I'm pretty sure it isn't. Right, so let's put them resistors away and get on with some Game Gears. Your head's in the way. Yeah, it usually does. I've got a microscope for that, but yeah, we said we need a sound that pops up every time I put my head in the way. So you can literally make the stream say, "Get your head out the fucking way" or something. So I can't help that. I do need to solder. Right, so we have Game Gear stuff all here. What we want to do with these is find what we've got the working one saved there. So I want to transplant the ASICs over from here because we've sold a bunch of consoles, so we need some re-PCBs. We can see out of curiosity if this one works, just to see. Where is... There we go. Power board. Let's see if this works, just so we know if like the chips are working beforehand. Doesn't matter too much, we always know if it fails, it's usually the VDP. Nope, so that one's a non-working board at the minute. Yep, nothing at all. So we'll use this anyway as the donor. Yeah, I speak English. Not really a fast talk, it's just a dialect. Right, did I meet any... Did I miss any chat when we were doing all that? No, not really. I don't think I did on there. I presume the notifications are sounding normal now as well, not crazy loud for the ones you hear. Modded GBA into new housing. We have it as an option on the send-in. You can select just send-in service GBA and then select a shell, basically. And that covers that. Irish, no, Stoke. So between Manchester and Birmingham, smack bang in the middle of the country, basically. We were mainly known for pottery, steel, and oatcakes. So all of the popular, you know, cups, saucers, plates, all that kind of stuff comes from, if you go on cruise ships as well on holidays or hotels, like we went to Tenerife a few weeks ago, pretty much everywhere you go hotel wise, you look at the bottom of the plates and you see Steelite. That's literally in Stoke-on-Trent. So I think they've moved some production now, but they serve most of the hotel and catering business all around the world, all cruise ships and everything. So that's about one of the most popular things in Stoke, I guess, that's still going. Before that it was all pottery, but China took all the pottery from us, so we don't really get... the pottery's just gone now. It's called the potteries. That's, you know, Stoke's basically called the potteries, but the potteries are now dead. There is no active potteries banks as far as I'm aware. Got a GBA shell for one of my modded GameBoys. Nice. Which colour did you go for? I've just literally swapped my personal one from the clear green / yellow, and I've gone with the clear red with some clear black buttons now for the new clean light. But I still think I prefer my yellow. I like the red because it's a change, but I think I prefer the yellow. So we've got the Game Boy there. We need that out, that out. There for the bin. What's been done to the Game Gear? We are transplanting the ASIC, so the heart of the Game Gear, and the Z80 and the cartridge connector and everything over. Basically turning it into a brand new Game Gear board. So this is a board I've made. It's a preference people can choose, so on the website they can choose to do this, or if the boards are too bad and rotted, you can also do it because these boards are dead, basically. But in this case, it's a preference. Can you take a look at the circuit? What circuit are we on about? Just let me know and I can show you. Walsall, yeah, not too far. Alright, so we know what to do here. We just need to focus when we're doing it. So we will, I guess, flux these pads first. That's going to be the starting point, and then put solder on them all. So we get that there. Go down here. I'll flux all of the pads. Oh, a crystal as well. I've just noticed we'll chuck a crystal on. It'll have to be an original because we're running out of the. What may I have to? I'm running out of my custom-made crystals at the minute for the 2 ASICs. Yeah, we use flux infused solder, but when you're doing drag soldering, you'll need extra flux. You won't get enough. Because this ball of solder that stays on the iron will dry out, and then you'll end up with drag points. But you'll see me not, I don't use flux on like single pins normally, but in drag soldering, yeah, you definitely need the extra. You can see how it's already dragging the ball. If that didn't have extra flux, that'd just be sticking all over the place. But that's how nice that is. I can show you how not nice it is if you don't use flux. So I'll wipe some flux off there. Let's do this one with no added flux. I'll probably be able to do it because obviously I'm used to it, but you'll see. Yeah, of course it's almost, you know, you can see it's, you know, harder to remove the balls, and you can see the quality of the pads isn't quite as good without flux when you're doing the drag soldering. So if we reapply flux there and just re-drag over, you can see how more rounded them pads are, and you can just keep going over. So you don't need the flux, but it obviously makes the drag soldering a bit nicer and easier having the extra flux. That's the pads tinned. Yeah, the whiteboards are definitely something we're now known for. We used to do purple, and then other people that were cloning our products or just making similar products started using purple. And so we changed to white, and not many people now use white. We've kind of got known for, if it's a whiteboard, it's ours generally. In the retro scene, like, not many people will use white. And I don't know why, because it's one of the nicest colours, like for soldering on as well. Oh, nice, you got the grey. Yeah, that was literally the grey GBA shell. That was the first thing that I set off this entire business with. So when it was just me doing the business and nobody else. See, that little like stream thing hasn't made a noise this time, but ignore the noise. I think the noise is just random, to be honest, on the browser add-ins. Yeah, when I started the business and it was just me, I literally started by making a GameBoy shell, and it was the grey shell. If it has Retro 6 written on the top as well, that's like collectible now in a sense, because we don't make them anymore. We don't have the mould, we've adjusted the mould for it, so you can't get that again, and that was the thing that set this business off. I think a bunch of modders in Japan found out that the quality of the shell was that good. It was the best Game Boy Advance shell at the time, like 7 years ago now. And that's what literally exploded the business, known for basically, oh, this is the best GBA shell going, and we were selling thousands a month, literally thousands of the grey shell a month. and then we expanded from there basically. But yeah, the grey GBA shell with Retro 6 written on it is the very first product I ever sold in Retro 6, like in terms of the retro side of the business. So we'll transplant this over. I've just taken that off. I haven't bothered showing you taking it off the green board. I've just kept it in focus here. PS2s are easy to mod, yes. We've stopped working on the PS2 FATs because I just found we were having too many, either bad luck with them or bad quality, because when they come in and just get opened up and the ribbons are poor and the connectors break, you can literally have a PS2 FAT in just for a basic service and you end up doing a load of work on it because the quality of the connectors inside are so bad. So we personally don't do the PS2 FATs now. We've done them for years, but we've stopped doing them now. But yeah, modding them is nice and easy, and we also still do the mods on the PS2 Slims. Love what I'm doing, thank you very much. I just need to try and remember to keep using this fan as well, so I don't get breathing issues. Am I responding to you? Yes. I got loads of chats coming through. Bear in mind we're on YouTube, Twitch, TikTok, Facebook, and I've got multiple chats all over the place, and I'm trying to work. So I will respond to chat, but if you want faster chat, you can subscribe as a member on YouTube or a sub on Twitch, and your chat will pop up on the actual stream that I'm looking at, like, you know, what I'm working from, so you'll get faster answers. This board is basically a remade Game Gear PCB. So if your Game Gear is too damaged, like there's too much rot on the board, or like this one we have, this green one that just doesn't boot and I don't want to diagnose it, I can just move over the chips onto this board and see if it works. You've got the added benefit, it's obviously a brand new PCB as well, so you're not going to get potential future rot on the boards. For example, when you're pressing on the A and B buttons and D-pads and things, and you're fracturing these connections here over time, these connections can break. So longevity wise, it's also good to know that the shell is, oh, knocked everything off. Good to know the shell's like the PCB's brand new, and you're not going to have issues like that, like the PCB going bad and things as well. Put that battery out the way. Clear up the desk a bit. I think I need to do some tidying up after this. But I'm going to flux these pins just to make them less oxidized when they're coming off. You don't need to use flux to remove chips, it's just that this is going to help clean the pins at the same time before they go back down. It'll give a bit of extra cleanness on the pins basically. Control of this is a Game Gear console, a handheld Game Gear console. So it is one of these, a little handheld console. And then you see the chat that's popped up, that's because this is a sub and a member to the channel, so you'll get more, I'll notice the chat basically quicker, and there's going to be a whole new load of benefits coming for the members. We're going to have a private Discord chat, we're going to have live streams, all kinds of stuff, so if you want all them benefits as well, just sub to the channel. Yeah, so the re-PCB needs a lot less because obviously I've redesigned the circuit board. I've worked on the Game Gears that long and understand what they're doing. And because I make hardware as well, I can make decisions on what I know is needed and not. So yeah, there's a lot of components not needed on the re-PCB, as well as the fact that all the capacitors have gone to ceramics, and the old LCD circuit, the old contrast circuit isn't needed. I've made some improvements on how Sega did a few things to reduce the components and also improve the components. Oof, like the magic smoke. Now that's that one off. We're going to transfer this straight over. But yeah, that's why there are literally a lot less components on this board. So let's get the CPU straight down. And I think we all know what's going to be wrong with this Game Gear. If it's anything to go off every other stream I've ever done, we'll find out the VDP's probably bad. So what do we reckon? I could start one of them polls up, but I'm not messing with them because they went wrong last time as well. But yeah, it's 50-50 on these VDPs lately, that whether they work or not. Yeah, same guys just mentioned on YouTube exactly that. We should really have a bet. We should start like a proper little bet every time we're doing a Game Gear as to whether we're actually going to have a working VDP. I want to see if I can figure out a fix for them as well. I'm wondering whether if the VDPs are maybe dying and getting slower on, maybe it's like they're a bit slow on the address and data responses, and I can maybe slow down, not necessarily slow down, but sharpen up the signals going to the VDP maybe. Or maybe one of the clocks I can tweak with a capacitor. I'm semi-tempted to try and look into getting these, you know, well, at least the VDPs that just show corrupt screens, not the ones that stop boot. I reckon we can get them, maybe get some revived, maybe not, but might be worth a try at some point. Yeah, there's definitely very common issues. Well, there's common issues and there isn't. The Game Gear's got a lot of issues, but I've done work on them for that long. That they're all written on retro6.wiki. All the diagnostics of how to fix these is on retro6.wiki, and it's years of my working on them basically and finding the faults. For the re-PCBs, morning, welcome in. I'm just about to put what's no likely a dead VDP on a Game Gear. Pretty much, I should just call that on the stream. Transplanting dead VDPs, to be honest. On the re-PCB, there's pretty much, I've had, only ever had one, like genuinely, one faulty board of a re-PCB, and it was the very first re-PCB I picked up out of the box when the factory had produced like 1,000, and it had on, I think it was the right button or the up, this fine gap between the pins. It was actually fused down here, and it was just a gold deposition phase of the production, and just coincidentally the very first and only board I picked up was faulty, so I've never had another faulty re-PCB since then. The only thing you'll get faulty is usually the chips you're swapping over, so this one, or this one. And it's always, quite frankly, the VDP. Like 99%, it's looking like at the minute, of faults is the VDP, basically. VDP faults, I just think it's down to, it's not heat, because we've proven this many times by, say I get this board working. I've got a working VDP on, and what I'll do then is go through a bunch of Game Gears and hot swap the VDPs on and off from all the consoles and see if they're working or not. And then when I'm done with that, I'll hot swap the working VDP that was originally on back on, and that still works. And then sometimes even that original one will come back off, and I'll put a faulty one back on to confirm. So it's having tons of swapping over of VDPs, and the working one stays working. So the theory of, like, some people will think, well, when you're hot airing them off, is it killing the VDP? That's 100% not the case, because we've also destroyed one with hot air to see how much it takes, and it takes an absolute ton of heat to kill these things. So it's not going to be that. I just think it's this chip is the most active component on the Game Gear. It's driving an entire screen 24/7 when it's turned on. The CPU has rest periods in between the screen writing data. The Z80 has a lot of rest periods, whereas the VDP is 100% of the time active and pulsing. So I just think it's the most worn out part, quite frankly. Do we do a whole board swap for other consoles? We've got the 1 ASIC and 2 ASIC for Game Gear. We've got the PC Engine GT that I've done on many streams before this. And I'm in the middle of making one for the GBA next, or a Game Boy Pocket. I'll be doing Game Boys next, I think, for the re-PCBs. Messi or Ronaldo, I'm not a football fan at all. I'll have to ask the kids. They'll tell me who's best. I know who they are, obviously, I know like the names, but I've never been into football at all. Thanks for the sub, Mikey, as well. Just noticed that pop up. What temperature and fan speed? If I don't mention it on stream, then it's always 480 degrees Celsius and 80% airspeed. If I change that temp, I'll mention it, but one thing I was going to do is, there's the magic smoke, I was going to put on stream a little note somewhere, not too big because we've got plenty of stuff on stream already, but I was just going to chuck a little note on stream mentioning, you know, hot air temps and iron temps in like a little corner somewhere, so most people that ask it, I'll just say like, you know, hot air temps and iron temps unless otherwise mentioned, and then tell you the temp. But to be honest, it kind of adds engagement anyway, so I probably won't be chucking it on stream because it makes people have a bit of conversation as well. Hey, welcome in from Texas. See how this is quite misaligned as well. I'm not that fussed about the misalignment. I will nudge this into position once it warms up. And the VDP's pitch means you don't normally get shorts or bridges on them, so I just tend to chuck these down and nudge them into position if they don't pull into position. But this one might pull perfectly into position. There we go, so that one's pulled into position automatically. Give it a few seconds, push down, warm back up. Put a little bit of extra flux on. And then that should be cool enough now to clean off. And then we can inspect as much glass as we can. You can inspect under the microscope for, to be honest, I think I don't need the microscope for inspection. I tend to find zooming in on this and then doing the double zoom and then pulling focus is normally good enough for this. Yes, that's nice and clean, you can see. So slight misalignment but perfectly soldered, so that's all we care about. There, good. Shout up if you see any issues, but I doubt we will. The only thing we might have is a short on the CPU every now and then. It's all good. CPU is a bit harder to see. You can see how it's slightly down and slightly across. Like the position could improve, but if the pins are all on, then it doesn't overly matter. That's just really hard to see because of the reflection on the CPU. But they are good. They are good. So I could actually probably turn the board around this way, maybe pull focus up. There we go. So yeah, the pins are, to be honest, they're on the verge of needing to be nudged up, but they're fine. Like they are definitely down slightly, but they're all on. So they're all good. Let's turn this around. Same with there, yeah, the chip basically wants warming up and nudging up, which I might do, but that's all on here. It looks, to be honest, I'm going to nudge that up. It looks a little bit nasty. It looks like a bit too out of position, like I've not done a good job on it, basically. So, well, let's test if it works first, because if it doesn't work, if the VDP's bad, then when I'm swapping the VDP, I'll just nudge that CPU up at the same time, basically, because it does need nudging up a bit. Bad chips I keep in a tub for future reference. I chuck some of them, but I've got like a couple of VDPs here bad. Got some ideas with them, see if we can fix them or find common issues. But yeah, some of them I chuck, some of them I keep. Right, so let's see if this thing boots. We need the crystal actually. I forgot we've got to put an OG crystal on, so for that I just need to wipe out this left resistor where it says take both off. You just need to take the left off. No harm in taking both off, and in which case I think I've knocked that one off anyway, so yeah, both off there, but you only really need to take the left one off. I'll get the crystal off this board. In fact, I'll just soldier the crystal off a bit quicker than waiting for the hot air to warm up. The crystal is here. There we go. So crystal's off. Put them through the board. And you want to try and keep these crystals slightly bent because you don't want it touching the caps that are really close. So that's just about on. Right, so we've got a crystal. Now I think we can boot. Oh, we don't need the power board. We need this. How do I know which CPU is bad? Just experience. If you watch these streams, you'll see the common faults that go wrong, how they typically present visually or with a problem, and the fact that we can almost guarantee the only things wrong will be the 3 chips because this is a brand new board. It's not an absolute guarantee because you can have faulty boards or faulty components, but it's just super rare. So we make a presumption it's Z80, CPU or VDP, and they all fail in fairly common ways, and I've wrote these all down on retro6.wiki, so there's like a semi-common pattern of failure, but basically it's always the pretty much always the VDP. If it's gone wrong, you'll find 9 times out of 10 it's the VDP, basically. You can't, no, without a VDP you won't get boot, unfortunately. Well, I'm fairly confident. I should double check that fact, but I'm pretty sure you won't get boot without the VDP because the VDP is part of what handles the sound. It actually generates the sound. So, yeah, you definitely won't. So the VDP generates the sound and the CPU outputs the sound. Same as the screen. So the VDP generates the screen data, but it's the CPU that outputs that data. So VDP processes and then CPU outputs for like all the video and audio stuff. Oh yeah, we've got lots of stuff in the store. We've been going for 7 years now, I think, so lots of products. And we've actually cut down, we had 2,500, we've cut down massively to like 600-700 products. Thanks Mark on YouTube, on Facebook. Just spotted that message in between the others. Glad you're liking the streams. We don't have a CPU tester as such now. We have this PCB. So if we wanted a CPU tester, we could just pretty much keep this board working when we've got a working one and hot swap the CPUs over. At the minute, that's the quickest process. Right, so we have now a I don't normally do it this way around. I normally put the screen facing up so we can see this side of the board. Oh yeah, I'll get you them. I've put you them scopes to the side. It's a good job because with mentioning on stream, I've got some scopes for sale. We sold them all, bar that. You know, the 2 you want, they've all now gone, bar that. So I literally put it aside just at the right time. And then obviously just follow the wiki for the guides on how to diagnose them, basically. Red light boot first, and then reading game cart is the main section of the wiki for figuring out the game load issues. don't work with Nintendo Switches. We did up until recently, but all we were gaining was mods. Like, permanently everyone wanting to mod them, and we don't want to risk our business doing too many of them. So we've ended Switches because basically our labour cost is more than the cost of a Switch to diagnose a Switch now. We used to, and I made loads of info on the wiki about how to diagnose things, but now we get that much work, and our labour costs for diagnosing Switches would be more than you can grab a second-hand one, so it just didn't make any logical sense to keep working on them. So we've ended the Switch stuff for now. Right, let's try audio. Let's go for a boot. What are we thinking? VDP good, VDP bad, or nothing at all? CPU stands for Central Processing Unit. The VDP stands for Video Display Processor, and the ASIC, which is the term for a chip that's been made specific to one product, is an application-specific integrated circuit. So all these are integrated circuits, they have transistors inside, hence they're integrated. And then application is the Game Gear, this is the application. So it's specific to the Game Gear, it's basically integrated transistors in these chips that are specific to this Game Gear, basically. Here we go. Nothing. Now normally, we've got border. Oh, we had a white one then. Maybe just bad game load. Yeah, so this is almost like it's corrupt and trying to load a game. So maybe we move that CPU into position. That doesn't, at the minute, hopefully, doesn't necessarily look like a VDP issue. What that could be is this good old connector that I seem to be having issues with lately. Let's try and reposition him. Could be, we haven't really checked the soldering on the Z80. Or it could be that CPU being, even though the pins look solid, the CPU being that far out of position, maybe we've got a bad pin on there. So I think it's time for a visual inspection. So see, reconnecting that has made like a different output now. So we've now got a completely different output. So I think we might be dealing with just a bad game slot or bad game port here. I want to say I'm going to grab a new one. I'm not thinking VDP at the minute, luckily. So let's get a new game slot. And obviously with the test ones, because we're constantly inserting and removing and bending, 10 times a day when we're making Game Gears, they'll wear out more than obviously when you fit them once and brand new. So I'll tend to find that we have to swap these game slots, probably every, I don't know, few weeks of building dozens of these consoles up. Right, so black screen without a game. Yeah, I'm gonna say bad solder maybe. Yeah, so let's check the Z80. We never even looked at that. We probably found we got a short on the Z80 maybe. So I've got the HDMI. I can go over to this, go to microscope and enable it because it just doesn't kick in automatically. And then, oh, I haven't even plugged the microscope in. Let me plug it in. And then we can look under the microscope so I can actually look and see properly. There we go. Put the zoom on. Now let's take a look. So Z80 looks fine. Let me get it up and in focus for you. So yeah, this looks fine. And what you can do on all these pins is go around and push them like this to make sure they're on. but you can see, I can see visually on these. Sometimes you can see with 100% certainty, but then there's your problem. Let's say, do we see it? Is that a solder joint? Which it is. So that'll be the issue. The one chip we didn't look at has got a little short on. And I used to say when I started doing these that the most common chip to get shorts on was the Z80, even though it was the smallest one. The thickness of the legs and the pitch of the pins just lead itself to quite easily getting shorts on, basically. So hopefully that's the only issue. Steam Decks we don't take on, unfortunately we just don't take on anything else except what's on the website at the minute, just because of how busy we are. We are permanently flooded, like we struggle to keep up. We would do normally, like, you know, but we've ended it since January. We've stopped working on a load of consoles just because we literally can't keep up with demand, basically. Right, so here we go again. Let's get a bit better angle. Hopefully this will work, because based on them symptoms it wasn't VDP, but you never know, because you won't get up to the point of it needing the VDP. So we will soon see. Hey, morning, welcome in, Mark. You joined just in time to see if this Game Gear was going to work. We just fixed a short on this pin here. I think I've also set this camera up to fixed exposure and it's remembered it, maybe. So now this might work on the CRT when we come to do that. And here we go. Yes, finally one that doesn't have a bad VDP. That's been a long time since we just built a re-PCB and it works. There's a bit of Sonic. Yeah, so when was the last time we actually built one of these and it worked? Like when I started doing them, I was building them and doing like 4 or 5 on stream, one after the other, working, and then must be the last 4 or 5 streams, it's just been literally VDP, just constant VDP issues, to the point where you're doubting something's wrong, but I think it was just a batch of bad Game Gears in a row. And like I say, you have to bear in mind the Game Gears I'm using at the minute are all ones that nobody else could fix. There are a pile still of consoles we kept to one side that have already been worked on by multiple people and nobody could fix them. So we're lucky that we're getting so many out of them, I guess. Now, do I go to try and fix a bit of this? I know this is a test screen. Let's take that audio out. But you'll see the IPA. So you see that little fade of colour when it flickers. Oh, I think I've caught something then. So see this liquid damage here. This is IPA when I'm spraying around. Obviously this is my test screen, so it doesn't matter. I was rusty. I can see it might still be up in bed. But this liquid damage here, if I turn the brightness up and down, you can't see it as much on there now. But you'll see between fades there's like a patch here. I can have a go at drying this out just for the sake. You see it the most when you reset the game. So see that there is IPA under the screen. Let's have a go at fixing that in a second. Spare VDPs, we definitely don't. I can get you one, I can, you know, test one and rob you one, but yeah, I've got, let me show you the balance between VDPs and CPUs. So, these are working CPUs that have come off where we've had bad VDPs. My VDP box is empty, and I've got 3 bad ones in. I've got plenty of bad ones if you want them, but, and I've even got consoles on the floor with just the VDPs taken out of them, because literally that's what happened. So I've got tons of every other chip if you want them, but I can get you a VDP. You know, I can sort you one out if you need one. Let me see if Rusty's in the corridor or upstairs. Nope, I think he's up with the missus. I think he's still in bed. He did come down for his breakfast at like 5:30 with me, but I think he's been taken back up of an extra downies. Yeah, so this board's shorter in components because of, obviously I've designed it, so I've removed all surplus stuff. I've shrunk down components, so they physically are a lot smaller. And obviously on this circuit we also don't need, pretty much everything on this side is all to generate a negative pulsing voltage for the contrast of this old LCD. So almost everything here, that's why there's literally nothing there, isn't needed because it uses modern screens. And the other side then isn't much different, it's just that these massive EM filters are now them tiny ones, and then we just didn't put the circle pad in, we just left it all empty. You've got the chips all here and down here, which are really all here and all here, they're just a lot smaller components. So it looks drastically less chips, but it's not actually as many chips as you think. Right, so what are... Oh yeah, I was going to try and show you how to fix this water damage. So on the back of these screens, you've got a little cage. So you can see this little metal cage here. You can just literally pull this off, and this is custom cage we've had made, so it blacks out the edges for like the Atari Lynx. This is now the LCD panel inside, and you can see the glass. And then you can further remove, and I wouldn't recommend doing this unless you've got a liquid damage screen, and that's why you're doing it. But you can now further remove this metal cage here. And just be careful because you can crack and break the LCD doing this, because this is what stops the LCD bending. But you can, just with your fingers or a tool, it's up to you, remove the clips from all around. And then once you get an edge in, you can try to keep the pressure on. And that takes the back off. So this is all like protective caging, and now we have the back, which will have the backlight here, the LCD glass at the front. So liquid's basically got between the glass. So if we zoom in here, probably move this towel out the way now. If we zoom up, right, so what you're looking at there is the top layer of glass, and you can see the sandwich between. So you've got the glass, the polarizer, this white bit will be the backlight that you can also separate. So you could take this further and separate the backlight. So this white plastic here that's clipping on the LCD, you can separate, and you can hear that nice crunchiness. And that's because the backlight will be stuck on, and if we peel this off, the liquid is in here. This is the reflective bit, and then you can see now there's the backlight. So what you're seeing here is protective reflective plastic back. This here, this piece of plastic here, is the backlight, this thick clear piece, and then you've got the sheet there and the LCD here. So liquid's basically in here, and we want to dry it out. Now I don't want to really take this entire thing apart, so probably it's not going to go back together as clean, but you want to try and dry the liquid out. So it's like a balance between, I'll take this apart just so you can see the inside of this, whether it works or not. After all, I'll show you so it's easy, but if you wanted to clean it properly, you'd take this all off, and this is just the backlight to the circuit, and you'll see it's connected, and it's just LEDs, it's just literally white LEDs. There we go. So that's another backing, and then there you go, you can see there's the liquid damage. So that's the liquid damage we need to clear off. There's the strip of LEDs, so this is nothing magical here. You can see inside the screen they are literally white LEDs. So they're just white side-facing LEDs that shine up. They're glued to that plastic piece you saw, so this little triangle here is the plastic piece, and they just all light up. And then this plastic piece you saw, this thick plastic piece there, that's your backlight. So you'll find that this wire here, this is your backlight, 18 volts, 2 pins, and they just go to them LEDs and they're soldered on. So we can peel off this fully, just gently, and now we have the entire thing exposed. You can separate, for the sake of it, let's just separate everything, but you can see clearly there, that's the liquid damage we need to remove. You can separate that from the screen, and basically that will be glued down and we may break the screen taking this off because of the assembly process. So you wouldn't normally lift this up. I'm kind of doing it for demonstration purposes, but there's the bit that we want to clean. So the ironic thing is we're going to clean up the water damage by using IPA. So we're going to clean up the IPA using IPA. And this will, it's likely going to be the other side. The reason this is in is because this isn't just like clear plastic, it's got a frosting on. So it's like particles trapped between the frosting, and we might have to separate it to get it out, because I think it's going to be, by the looks of it, on the inner side. You can see these are all the diffusion panels of frosting. I'm going to see if it is that side. No, it is just on this panel. So it's infused into this panel basically, and I think it's been on there that long, we're probably not going to get this stain out. But if you do this fast, so if you spill stuff into an IPS screen, then you can open it up and clear this off. But this has been in for weeks, if not months, because this is our test screen. So it's literally this backlight diffusing the light in a random pattern. So you're seeing this splodge inside, but unfortunately that's not clear enough. What you'd normally do is, if there's water in, you'd get a bit of IPA on a sponge. You would rub gently across it, like this, and you can see the fact that the stain isn't coming out. That you'd get rid of that, and then you'd dry it off with hot air on very low, like literally 110 degrees from a distance. But I don't think we're going to get this stain to come out, so it's just been in here too long. Yeah, you basically use heat to evaporate the IPA after. So considering I doubt this is going to clean off, yeah, I can feel it physically. It's like fully embedded in there. That's not going to come out, unfortunately. It's been sat for too long. Yeah, that's too encrusted. But I've fixed quite a few of these doing exactly this. If you do it soon enough, it comes out super easy. I was expecting this to just come out nice and easy as well, but no, it's been sat in there for too long. But at least you've seen it inside the screen anyway, so you know the layers. I don't know whether we can separate that. I can probably separate the backlight completely, because what you could do is replace the backlight. Like if you were that bothered and this was an expensive screen, you can separate this backlight completely and replace it, and then you could fix the screen, because the screen will be working. It's just the backlight diffusion is not good. So you could literally separate the screen from the backlight. Let's do this. And heat would help here as well if you're doing this obviously professionally. I wouldn't just stab in with tweezers. I'd use heat to get between this layer here. It's basically glued onto the screen. And you can hear that crunch, which wouldn't typically be good because you're probably scratching like the LCD under here. So I'll probably clearly damage the screen doing this. I'm just doing it to show you the layers of the screen. But if you wanted to try and actually remove this without damage, you'd warm this up gently to release the adhesion. So that's the backlight there. So you can see then the backlight comes off. It's just tape there. This is then diffusion panels to diffuse the light further. So you've got a diffusion sheet here, and then this is the polarizer more than likely. Nope, we've still got, this is light diffusion again, so you can see if I put my finger between there, look how it diffracts the light. So that's the thing that makes your backlight LEDs actually nice and blurry, so it's a smooth backlight. So this is like a light diffraction panel, has a real cool optical effect. It's like trippy. We should keep that because that's cool. So that's one of the layers. Yeah, cool. So I'm going to keep that sheet because it's cool. You have the basic just white panel diffusion, which is on top. Peel that off. And then now that is the actual polarizer and LCD there. I can't really take that one apart much more. That's your thin LCD. So this LCD should still work. If we turn this on and shine a light through the back, you should see, unless I've damaged it by taking that backlight off, we should even see this working. And then you can actually, you know, like I say, we could fit. You could have a retro Game Gear where you keep the original fluorescent tube and a modern LCD panel. So let's see if we hold this up. If we might have damaged things too much, but let's see. Oh, there you go. Look, we have a transparent Sega. So now we can put a hand behind the screen, and then you can see obviously the backlight without all that magic. You've still got the liquid damage, but look how bad that is compared to with all the layers in. So just an LED panel with literally LED lights that light up. This is why your LCD gets warm. These LEDs just get hot. But that's your issue with is like liquid on the thing there, so you can see it clearly. But if you wanted to, separate that off and replace the backlight. So we could use like our obviously our phone backlight, for example. So if you used a phone torch, obviously this will be too bright and not diffused, but you could apply any light to the back to, you know, shine through the screen. But that's what a IPS screen looks like without a backlight. That's literally, and they do this on some modern TVs as well. They'll completely take it apart, let the natural daylight shine through, and you have this kind of transparent screen. So you get like a cool transparent effect where you can see behind the screen. But yeah, that's the inside of an LCD. So that's probably interesting to quite a few people. So now my test screen. Do I keep my test screen like this? Is this my new test screen? Or shall I? In fact, I might have a faulty screen and I could genuinely swap that backlight out. I don't know, I'll keep it like that for now. Actually, we could put that diffusion panel behind to show the difference of the diffusion panel. So it softens the light. So if we do diffusion panel on half, say, I don't know whether we're going to tell the difference, but you can clearly see the line between where it diffuses. So this looks brighter, but this is more diffused on this side, so it's very hard to really tell the difference, but you can see how it's like frosty and smooth white. So obviously that's the key difference with that diffusion panel here. It softens the light again, and you can see the actual effect on the light panel. So obviously that side with and that side without. This is all liney and grainy, and this just looks white. So that's the point of this panel. It literally spreads that light out more evenly. And then we're keeping obviously this cool diffraction thing, because that basically again spreads the light even further. So this has the most effect on the light, so it spreads it out nicely. But they all have the purpose, the layers inside the screen. Right, so I think for now that'll do on the work. I've got a load of these to build, and again I'm smashing through Prestiges, but at least we got one up and running there. Oh yeah, the Philips LEDs where look at that nice little rim light. We've got a crash Sonic as well. I've got quite a cool crash effect there. We've got like just the Sonic sprite large and a random Sonic there. I'm gonna leave that there. Like, you know, where the outer rim matches the colour of the screen. Yeah, that'd be cool. A clean light that actually responds to the data on screen. I can do that actually. That is possible in the clean light version 4, because of the way I've made it and how much power we've got, and the fact that I'm reading the screen and I have a frame buffer. I could literally use the frame buffer, calculate every pixel along the edge, and have a screen. It's actually possible. As daft as that sounds, that isn't a bad idea. That is fully possible. Like, ridiculous and way over the top, but possible. Is the screen high voltage? No. You've got 18 volts to the backlight. Nothing to touch here. The originals are like 4,000 volts unloaded. No, like 1,500 volts unloaded over here, where you budge yourself. but the backlight on here is like runs at 400 volts even when it's running, but if it's not even loaded down, it's thousands of volts. So yeah, hence the high voltage warning on the cage. It genuinely is mains voltage and gives you more of a belt. Yeah, so that's it for this one, guys. Anyway, just a nice quick one. I'm going to crack on with the day, and again, I might be back on later once I've caught up and done a bit more. So thanks everyone for joining in. Oh yeah, the coloured enamel wire, funnily enough, I actually contacted my factory and they sourced it for me. So, like I say, I've worked with factories in China for years. So we have here got all them enamel wires, and I've asked for some, and they are coming now. So I've ordered every colour. So pretty much thanks to you saying there was more, and I was like, oh, there is. I only checked on AliExpress. I don't bother, messaging me factories for like small things, because I put like, massive orders through them, not just the everyday stuff. But considering I couldn't find them, and you showed me that there was actually some, I reached out and literally already ordered some. So yeah, that's pretty cool. Yeah, we need to find some things for this as well. This is just definitely one of the coolest. It's almost, have you seen that invisibility panel? This is basically the same principle. So you know how this is diffusing light and bending it. That whole invisibility panel thing they've made, where you can stand completely behind it, is one of these, just a lot more powerful. So you see, you get close and it's completely like you're seeing through it perfect, but then you pull away and it diffuses. This is that invisibility panel thing that they showed off, where you put it next to this, but it bends light, so you see this behind, but the things that are close up are completely invisible. So it's like almost the opposite of this, where close up it's clear. They made one where close up you're completely invisible and it bends light around. But yeah, buy an IPS screen for like 17 quid and gut it for one of these. We'll find some good uses for this. I'm sure we will. I'm just going to be playing with this now for hours instead of working. Oh, that's trippy. That's like, look at that effect. That is, I don't even know how to describe that effect. It's like a digital effect, almost like you're separating the writing. Whoa. Yeah, that's trippy. Spend hours just moving a diffusion plate around. Right, and anyway, I'm going to crack on with some work. You guys have a good day, and I will be back in a few hours. Rusty is up in bed. I had a look, he's not outside, so he's had grub, had a wee and a poo, gone back bed. He's got no job today, so he's having the day off.